another question. I was like working, well, directing commercials.
Oh, directing commercials. Okay, so I did that from when I graduated film school in 1997. I started directing commercials right out of the gate, pretty much. It was great up until around a year, up until around 2003. The business kind of changed a lot. The advertising business changed a lot after September 11. My specialty was doing comedy dialogue spots. But around 2003, what happened is there was a lot of changes to the industry after September 11. For a few months there, I wasn't working because comedy spots were just not something that people wanted to do. So they started changing into other kinds of spots that I was getting put up for. And so my focus started getting a lot more diluted, to the point where I was doing like a Tide commercial with a mom, like playing around in the yard with her son, which isn't something that if somebody saw my reel back then, you wouldn't think I would be doing like a sweet, cute commercial with like pretty lighting and stuff like that. It was usually very sort of like wild and crazy and funny and that kind of stuff. But around 2003, a lot of the clients that I'd been working with a lot, many of those agencies had taken those people who had hired me a lot for things, and they laid them off. And so that affected me because now all the friends that I made I was talking to you about teams before, about how it's so important to have a good team together. These different clients and we all made really good teams, and we did really good work together when we were together. But with the rise of the internet and popularity of that kind of stuff, a lot of the advertising agencies wanted to bring in a more sort of newer approach to advertising. So they were hiring a lot of younger people coming out of like college, like marketing departments and stuff like that, and advertising majors and stuff. And they were brooming out a lot of the older people. And so all of a sudden, nobody was hiring me anymore because all these younger people wanted to work with like their friends. And some of them also wanted to be directors too, and they ended up being actually a couple of them actually really good directors, because that's just what they're meant to do, I guess. But it got to the point where the business changed so much that it started becoming less fun for me. In the first few years of working, advertising agencies would call me up and they would send me a script and a set of storyboards that they made up, and they would say, hey, what do you think about these things? And I would look at it, and if I had any opinions on it, like if I had any sort of ideas on how to change it, make it funnier, or make it weirder, or whatever, they were always usually open to at least discussing it. After 2000, I think 2003 was that was the pivotal year. After 2003, they weren't interested in hearing my opinions about anything anymore. And it got so bad where we were, I was shooting something, or I was shooting something, and the set of storyboards were handed to me right before we were supposed to start for the day, and the agency producer said, so that's what we're going with. You have to shoot those boards, meaning I wasn't even allowed to even pick the shots. So I was supposed to look at the storyboards. I was supposed to say, okay, well, this is the first shot. We're going to set up exactly that shot. And that's when I knew that even though the money was really good, I knew my days were numbered there because I wasn't going to be cool with doing that. It's just, if they're not hiring you to do anything other than saying action and cut and maybe pushing the actors around on the set or whatever, if they don't need anything more than that, anybody can do it. So it's, what do they need someone like me there for, who has an opinion and is more than willing to give it? After a couple more jobs like that, I saw the writing on the wall and saw that pretty much what I was doing there wasn't worth fighting for anymore. It wasn't worth putting more money into it to try and make these new little spec spots that I was planning on doing, to make a new reel with sort of like a new look. just to try and maybe get a little bit more, just to get a little bit more time in the industry, because I really loved working with actors and setting up shots. And I mean, that's what I love doing. I love making those little movies, for example, and commercials are little movies. But after a few more jobs that were like that, I saw that they didn't really need me. They needed traffic cops. And, you know, the commercial industry is such that if you're a director in the commercial industry, you're probably only going to last 5 years anyway. And now it's a little bit less because of this idea that pretty much anybody can direct a commercial. Like that's just how it is. These days, I don't know, because I'm out of the loop as far as what's going on in the commercial world these days, amongst the agencies and stuff like that. I hope it's become more creative, although every time I turn on the TV, it seems like every single comedy commercial looks exactly the same. And so I have a feeling it's really not any different. I think they're still clearing things with the lawyers of all the networks, and in doing so, they have all these hoops to jump. I'm talking about the advertising agencies. They're having to clear these ideas through so many groups of different people, lawyers, the advertising agencies' clients like Tide, Pepsi, whatever. And I think the more shit they have to wade through just to shoot a commercial, the less willing they're going to be to want to take risks or to add a new opinion into the pile. And that, I mean, I feel bad for them for having to do that. But I totally understand why they have to do that, because that's just how the business is run. I hope it's not like that anymore, but I mean, who knows? I mean, I'm not even in that industry anymore. So it was fun while it lasted, and I think I got like 8 or 9 years out of it, which was great. I got to pay off my school loans within 2 years of starting. Yeah, they paid me a lot of money to do this. But so that was great. I got to pay off my school loans right away. I got to pay off some of my mom's debt. I got to pay off some of my sister's debt. It's like, Christmas presents, it would just be like, hey, you know what? You were worried about that credit card? Don't worry about it anymore. I mean, those are great feelings to have, that I could actually help them, as much as they helped me when I was growing up. So I got to do good things while I was directing commercials, and because I was directing commercials. And then I stopped directing commercials right around the time when all of the good deeds that I had to do, right around the time I finished doing all the things on my checklist, were done. That's when everything kind of ended for me with that. So it was a good run. I was really happy I got to do it. I met a lot of great people, worked with a lot of amazing people, and had a lot of really great experiences that help me every day in the studio doing anime, believe it or not. So.
All right. So coming back to the anime questions, while it's like working on Toradora.
Oh, Toradora. So super honored to work on that, just because it was NISA's first anime dub, and that already intrigued me. When Mami Okada, the head of production at Bang Zoom, approached me with it, it was another one of those jobs where she says, listen, I think you're the one who should be doing this, so please check out the show. I guess NISA had already released Toradora in a subtitled version on DVD, so Mami gave me those to watch, and I marathoned the whole show over, I think, 3 days it took me to watch the whole thing, and just loved it. From the very first episode to the last, I just thought it was such an amazing show, cool characters. And then it just set about working on it. Eventually I found out who the cast was going to be, because the way Bang Zoom works, I don't know if it's like this at other studios, but the way Bang Zoom works is Mami, the head of production, is also in charge of casting. It's rare when she asks my opinion on who I think should play something. Most of the time she's the one who makes these decisions, and then gives the client five potential candidates for any of the major roles. This time, Mommy, wanted my ideas on a couple of the characters, a couple of the main characters and stuff. She gave me like 3 or 4 selections of people who had mailed in their auditions for it, and I'm glad that everybody I liked, the client liked as well. So Eric Kimmer, I'd never worked with before, but I'd heard about him, and I heard good things about him, and everything was true about him. He's just he's a go-getter. He was really cool. At first I was a little concerned because Ryuji's voice seemed to be a little deeper in Japanese, but the client actually was totally cool with Eric's take on the voice. We didn't want to make him go too deep, because then Eric you can tell that Eric was faking it, like going deeper, and we didn't want that. We wanted natural reads and stuff. But everybody loved Eric's take on Ryuji so much that his voice just worked for Ryuji. If you're a big fan of Toradora, however, and you watch the Japanese and you think, oh, well, Ryuji's got more of this kind of a voice, no arguments there. He does have a different voice in Japanese, but I think Eric's version works really well in English. And I was really happy that that he was Ryuji, because at the end of it, I think he was pretty proud of what he got and where he got to go with the character. And I remember our last day of recording was kind of sad, but it was one of those things where it was like, oh man, I got to work with you on this huge role and stuff like that, and it was like one of those things where I just felt kind of honored. And so, hopefully Eric goes on and to do like bigger and more amazing things. I think he's still on Magi. He's still doing Magi. His character's still around in it, I think. Yeah, it is. And then I think he's done some video games recently and stuff that he's done. But aside from like Sword Art, which, yeah, I think aside from Sword Art and Toradora, I don't think I've worked with him again, which is sad. So hopefully in the future there'll be something else where we could work on together, because I really enjoyed that. He's a great actor and a really good person. Christine Cabanas, again, Minori, she was hilarious. I don't even know what to say. I mean, it's all up there. I mean, Christine, attacked that role as hard as she could, and made her goofy and cute and sweet and kind of tragic at the same time. And it was every session with her was awesome. Erica Harlicker as Ami was pretty damn amazing too. She surprised me because I'd never worked with her on anything that was like that. It was usually just like side characters here and there, but not on a character like Ami. And Harlicker really surprised me at how flexible she was and how sharp she was as an actress. And I was really happy how Ami came out. And then, of course, Cassandra Morris as Taiga. Never had really any concerns about Cassandra, because even though if you meet Cassandra's very sort of low-key and very, she's very sunny, but she's not like a spaz or anything. And she certainly isn't as bitchy as Taiga. So, but Cassandra's been working as an actor, not only in voiceover, but also doing on-camera stuff and other things. She's been doing that, like, I think all her life, or most of her life anyway. So so when she came in to start work on Taiga, there was never a whole lot of discussion or takes. Usually if we did have more takes than 2 or 3, it was usually because of a sync issue, or something where I realized that maybe I didn't adapt the script the right way, because what she was saying wasn't connecting to what like Ryuji was saying before she was saying, or something like that. It was never really an issue with her. It was usually an issue just with technical things. Usually I mean, if I'm not remembering correctly, I'm sure she'll correct me on this. If I'm not remembering correctly, I'm sure most of the time we were only doing 2 takes with her. One was a keeper, the other was just a safety take in case there was a problem. And I know Cassandra really loved the part too. She really loved Taiga, and she really loved being a part of the show. But she did start getting tired of it because we were recording it in chunks of 12, or I think we recorded the first 4 episodes, and the client was sitting in with us for the first few days when we set up the main characters. And then the clients, NISA, the producer Yoko from NISA, and Toshi, the translator, then they had to go back to the office and they couldn't hang out for the rest of the show. But we recorded, I think, the first 4 episodes first, and then we took a break, and I got to write the next 6 episodes. And then I think I wrote the next 5 or 6 episodes after that, including all the bonus episodes. So we were recording in big chunks, and that last big chunk that we were recording, I remember our last session with Cassandra, or one of the last sessions, I'll never forget this. She just goes, "Oh, aren't we done with this yet?" Like she was just kind of, I think she was done with the emotional journey. It was a little exhausting because of Taiga's highs and lows and, all those things. And I think she was just ready to just go to sleep for a week because she'd been working so hard on it. But it was so funny when she did that because it was just kind of like, oh my God, the last thing I need is for you to give any more shit because right now we're just trying to get through this. But I mean, she survived. We all survived. And in the end, it was fun. And so hopefully, I mean, it seems like the fans like the dub too, and how everybody is clicking together. Oh, and I forgot to mention Johnny. Oh my God. So Johnny, who, I mean, it seems like he's been in almost everything I've done, is always a blast to work with. And he's been doing stuff. He's been playing an anime for so long that he knew exactly he knew exactly what his character's doing all the time. And so, yeah, I can't forget to mention Johnny. Johnny had some of the funniest bloopers, and he also had, because of his character's sort of cluelessness, he also had a lot of the funniest sort of reactions and reads. So Johnny too, that group of people, I think anybody who's experienced Toradora in English really has fun with having all of those actors playing those characters and playing off of each other the way they do. So I'm glad that people are enjoying it.
That's what
Yeah.